Hello everyone and welcome back. I'm AnubitProductions and well, let's basically continue with the next episode of the mapping series. So as mentioned, I'll be working on, well, basically forming some mountains, hills thingies in this one. It'll be a bit, I won't say weird necessarily, it'll be a bit cutty, a bit fast paced as well. Originally I had like about 2 hours, which I tried to narrow down into like 10 minutes ideally, but it simply wouldn't render it. So instead I'll be making a few jumps here and there, basically just show small sections instead. Then again, it would have gone way too fast otherwise, I think. But as you can see here, basically I am making small blocks of mountain and forming it by myself slowly with a mouse by pulling and pushing it in different directions. This basically is quite a huge part of my map, since it's, as mentioned, meant to take part. Oh, I didn't mention that necessarily, but it's basically part in the mountains where the blue team, which would be rebelling, are some kind of miners. I may actually have mentioned that. Now I'm getting uncertain. But that means, of course, there'll be a lot of mountains around, and a lot of this map are based around mountains. Quite some of the buildings are built into the mountains of different parts, have pathways leading to and from the mountains, and so on and so forth, or hills, or whatever the heck to call them. But it basically allows me to, well, I guess you could say someone seal off the map, but at the same time give it quite an interesting experience. I, at first especially, had some very much. That's very bad described. I had a lot of difficulty basically finding out what I actually wanted to do, since it's not per se logic always just to have very tall hills or mountains, because they would need to be quite high in order for the player not to jump above them. And yeah, I'll be making some kind of invisible wall still, so just to ensure 100% they won't. But they should still not be so short, basically, that the player would be able to at least see above them. Here they are ideally able to maybe see the top, where there'll be a bit of land on, which you'll see in a bit during this video. But they won't be able to get up there, and they won't be able to see behind it, basically. I mean, these mountains are both, I keep calling them mountains, hills. These hills are both used as separators between sections of the map. You can even see it here where I'm building these yellow blocks. They're both sealing off different areas, so you don't just jump directly through them, basically. And also just to isolate it from the so-called outside world, so they won't be able to leave the actual map, the players that is, which we of course wouldn't want either. A great example of it here where it's separated. And here we actually see me trying to switch around for the different top surfaces of the hills. I want to actually find something I found somewhat pleasing I could see be used there as well. I mean, that in itself is quite important. But what I've mainly struggled with in the past have tried to round these corners of the mountains. You've seen it being done a few times already in this video. I'm quite pleased with the results, but it can be very tricky since you're actually working with a 90-degree corner as a start, basically, and have to try to form your way in the best way possible by, again, pushing and pulling to your best ability, I guess you could say. But I'm not planning to make this a tutorial video of anything. Don't worry, that's more or less just to showcase what I'm doing, and well, doing so in the best way possible is to see it being worked. And I'm planning in every single video to have a small video of the final result of it being displayed, which also will be the case here. But yeah, I can't really promise anything of how long the different ones will be, or what I'll be showing anything interesting every single time. I mean, I won't be working on hills every single time, that's for certain. But I'll be trying to show a bit of new every single time. Can be texturing or working on different areas. I have an idea of what may happen next. Being, well, let's just spoil it. Basically being the location where you're delivering the payload, as it's called, or the bomb card. But you'll be seeing that in next week, if everything goes as planned, that is. But yeah, again, it took how much time did I work on this? this small area here itself, the mountains, there we go again, the hills. It's how long? 2 hours maybe? 2.5, 3. Nah, I think it's actually more than that possibly. But somewhere around there at least. The map itself has taken forever, and it'll still take a long time since I'm done. Again, as mentioned, the skeleton are close to done, but not even completely. And then all the graphical detail work is coming afterwards. You get quite a few good angles to see how it actually looks like from somewhat decent. Where you can see actually the top part with the sand looks quite decent on top of the hilltop, as a hilltop rather. As you can see here as an example, I'm pretty pleased with the outcome. But then again, it took a long time to make, just for a very small area that people likely won't even consider that much, except that it's a wall they cannot go through. Well, obviously that is. But yeah, it's quite an interesting thing to map like this. To slowly see the progress being built and being part of it all, I guess you could say. Here's the very small finishing details, touches added to the wall barrier hill thingy here. Before basically rounding off by letting you see it all in game in Team Fortress 2. But, well, I guess we should just more or less jump over to that if you're ready for that, that is. Because, well, let's start off at the blue spawn as we did last time, and just follow the tracks all the way up to the very first point, which we see for another example of hills being made. First point here, which we were working on, mountains going into the actual wall of the building, and then we can continue to see it a bit closer on, a bit distance as well, and see actually the sand on top as well. Another angle seen from distance, looks quite decent actually. To continue onwards, seeing it from red spawn, very nice hills. And well, I just like to see it in, not reality, but see it in how it would look like in game basically. It makes a lot of difference to see it in an editor and then within the game itself. I mean, from here it's a quite good view actually. You can just see the top part of the sand. Or maybe want to play some cactus or something, or cacti, whatever it's called. But that was basically for me, guys. I hope I'll see you next time. Take care, please.